Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast, man. I'm your host, Mual. Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual, man. Welcome in, everybody. We are brought to you as well by Hogs Haven, SB Nation's blog site, man. You can catch all of our content, our podcasts, our episodes, conversations from the podcast on the website as well as you can follow everything Washington Commanders on Hogs Haven. Administrative items before we check in with AJ. We didn't even start yet, Kevin. Oh my goodness. But before we check in with AJ, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're just checking in. If you're on the YouTube, if you're on the podcast side of things, whichever way you are listening, make sure you hit that follow button. And make sure you leave us with a rating and review. We definitely appreciate it. As always, I think last time we talked, I told you I appreciate it. The ones that have been flowing and somebody left a review, I'm going to shout them out, man. Sports Pops. Try it for real football fans. Gave us a 5-star rating, man. It shows for real football fans. No kidding. Listen, subscribe, enjoy. It's for Washington football fans and real football fans. Shout out to Sports Pops for the All 32 side. Shout out as well. AJ, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling, bro?
Cool. About to fry this Kevin Robinson soon, because I ain't even say a word about Sam Howell today, last week, the other day. But I'm about to cook his little ass real quick.
Hey man, look, man, you got a target on your back. You got a target on your back, brother. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But you're not lying. You didn't say anything. You actually, first off, you got compliments in the comments post show about you giving your credit to Howell. So I look, you're not lying. You was off his back for a little bit, man. But they on your ass. They gonna be on. You know they gonna be on your ass all 17 games too.
Hey, we gonna be right back at it in what 2 weeks from now? Oh yeah, 2 weeks from now. So I hope they keep that same energy.
1, 2, 3.
Kevin gonna need that little lime green shirt once the season start rolling in.
We got 11 more days to the game, man. Monty,
we're gonna put him on the spotlight.
Hey,
spotlight.
Hey, Kev, check in post game, bro. You know we here right after the game is over, man. Monty, appreciate you checking in. Pedro, what's going on with you, player? Appreciate you checking in, big dog, for sure. Marcus, what's up, family? Jabril Cox is an underrated signing on the practice squad. That's an interesting one because I think we've been saying it on the show for a couple weeks. I feel like there needs to be a contingency plan for Cody Barton. Somebody tried to tell me that he was the backbone of the defense in Seattle last year. I didn't respond to him, but I did read the comment. I don't agree with that, and there was actually a reason why they let him go. And and Ron and company decided to take a chance on him. So I was a little skeptical of his abilities after watching him in preseason and seeing or hearing why, that off season playing with the 2s and 3s, it starts to make sense. That's what I'm starting to see when it comes to Cody Barton. But yes, we're gonna monitor Jabril Cox, man. He signed up to the practice squad. Washington claimed him or picked him up after, I guess, the waivers cleared and everything. AJ and is finally back from his hiatus too, man. Before we get into the football, how was your month stay away from the United States? First off, how is that? I've done 2 weeks. I ain't done no month.
Man, I never did it before until now. It was challenging sometimes, but for the most part, it was good. Like good vibes, good energy. Matter of fact, ran into some people from the DMV area the other day too. So like, yeah, it was love, man. I'd do it again.
Yeah, that was a college thing for me, brother. I know one thing for sure though. Like well, at least for me, I don't know about for you. I learned. I went to Brazil for 2 weeks, bro, and I learned Portuguese. Like 2 or 3 days in, I learned the most important words of Portuguese, and I knew it for the rest of my time there. And like a month after I got home, I forgot everything that I learned. Like I think it was a survival trait, just to make sure that I knew what I needed to know while I was out there.
Yeah, it sounded like those words was coming in handy while you was out there. But yeah, I mean Portuguese is definitely different. I got my friend. Actually, I need to call her. Today's her birthday. She's celebrating her birthday in Rio right now. But yeah, man, it's I wasn't really picking up on much, man. But it is what it is.
Yeah, hey Pedro, we went to Sao Paulo for 2 weeks, man. A few years. Oh, it's about to be 10 years soon. But yeah, we went to Brazil Sao Paulo when I went to Morgan State for a little study abroad trip, man. That's what's up though. Wow. What parts you from, Pedro? Dre, what's going on with you, player? How you feeling, man? Appreciate you checking in, dog.
What's up, fellas, man? I'm happy to be here. Like I said, man, this is we finished with the cuts. We ready for the season now.
Lamo days, brother.
Lamo days. You counting?
Jay Tyler checking in. What's going on with you, big dog? All right, let's go ahead and get into the show, man. I think for us, this is more of an open show. We have cuts. We had a couple of news items that came out over the past couple of days, and the final 53 is set. Fellas, for me, we can start with the final 53, and then we can talk about any other lingering topics around the Commanders. I mean, obviously Jabril Cox was a big name, and then in retrospect or in correlation, we'll talk about the practice squad within this conversation as well. So we'll just dive into it. What do we think about the roster being set? How it was set? Fedarian Mathis ends up going on IR, and I think the way they played it, because he didn't go on IR before the cuts, I would assume that he's on he's eligible for the 4-week return. Yeah.
They said short term, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I just seen IR, but I'd imagine he's eligible for the short term IR. Mitchell Tinsley makes it over Kaz Allen. Dax Milne stays on. I was in Houston over the weekend. I saw the game on film, but I didn't see the game in real time. But hearing it and seeing how things played out for both parties on that receiver side, not surprising. Kaz Allen was only set if he can really finish all 3 games strong, and he wasn't able to do that. But he did make the practice squad, which is good to keep him around. Same thing as Bryson Tremaine. But really happy for Mitchell Tinsley, and honestly for Mitch, who may have an elevated role in week 1 because of Terry McLaurin's lingering toe injury, turf toe. He may be able to show out a little bit earlier than people anticipated. I'll stop there because I'm sure there's more meat on the bone that we can talk about when it comes to this roster. But I'll give you all the floor in terms of your thoughts. What are you all thinking about the initial 53-man roster?
I mean, just to jump in there real quick because we kind of quickly touched on Jabril Cox being added to the practice squad. I think they get a linebacker that I compare to like poor man's Deion Jones, can run sideline to sideline. Not the greatest coming off the blocks, but pretty damn solid in pass coverage. And that's going back to his college tape and some of his Cowboys tape. But overall with the 53, I mean, pretty much there was no surprises on who made the team. No surprises on who got cut. I think it pretty much aligned with what I was thinking as far as the roster construction. Overall, you don't really see this personnel go in and make the trades. You've seen a lot of trades happen in the last couple of days, whether it be kickers, linemen, cornerbacks.
The kickers was weird, bro. I've never seen nothing like that before.
Yeah, I've never seen that myself, but at the end of the day, like I said, no real surprises. You would probably like for them to add another tight end there, but didn't see that happen today. I always have been a fan of Devin Asiasi coming out of UCLA. He's kind of been bouncing around a little bit here. He got drafted by the Patriots.
New England, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think he was with Cincinnati for a little bit. I don't know who just released him. Might have been Cincinnati again. But at the end of the day, definitely hasn't been any surprise with what's been going on so far as who's on the 53 and who's on the practice squad. But those things are still kind of fluid up until week 1.
Yeah, like AJ said, I wasn't really surprised by anything. I guess a mild surprise was Jake Fromm. Him not being the third quarterback. I thought his play kind of warranted third quarterback, and I was actually a little surprised that someone probably didn't try to claim him just how he looked in preseason. But other than that, I mean, most of the guys they liked, I guess, and they could keep on the roster. They brought him back on the practice squad. I was happy to see Kaz Allen get there, even though he could be a little shaky. He's going to have to work on those hands big time. I guess one of the surprise ones that I was kind of, that I looked at and said, oh, this guy made it. Trent Scott, the tackle. I don't know much about him. Didn't notice him much. But, yeah, he made the final 53. And I looked at that. I said, okay, maybe I have to watch out a little bit more for him if he ever gets to the game because they must like him, because they cut the other guy, Mason Brooks, who was like the star of the, training camp for those early days in practice when he was doing his thing in the guard. But he's back on the practice squad again. I guess another one was Jared Patterson. I wasn't surprised that he was cut. I was actually surprised that, they cut him on the first day and they knew they weren't going to bring him back to the practice squad. So it kind of made me wonder if he's like not Bieniemy's type of running back, if he's not looking for that real small in stature type of running back. So, because, he had been on the practice squad the last couple of years, so he's gone. And then the Jabril Cox thing, not sure what to make of him yet because we didn't get to see much of him in Dallas as far as what he could do because first year he got hurt, second year he was playing behind a lot of guys in Dallas and, they got rid of him. So who knows if he can still play. I think they're taking a chance on the talent and also, maybe you get some intel on Dallas as well. So, but again, like not too many surprises. But I do want to ask you, I don't know if we're going to get into this, man, but I know Jamal liked Fedarian Mathis, but are we calling that pick a bust yet? Like, what are we doing?
It's scary. I ain't gonna lie to you. And it's scary from the sense of, I think this move right here was more of a convenience strategic play to put him on IR because you have John Ridgway and because you've seen John Ridgway play for what did he? I think he played for 15 games last year with Washington. So that you have somebody in Ridgway that can hold the fort until Mathis gets back. And for Washington and Rivera, like they love their draft picks, and Mathis is going to have all the time in the world to get healthy. It's going to take him some time to get in game shape because he's already missed so much time again. But at the same time, once he's fully ready, he's probably going to get back in the lineup from a heavy percentage in terms of like his role in the defense. But to your question specifically, yeah, I don't know, man. It's to have that second round pick with so much controversy surrounding it already. I like the player. It's not about like the draft pick and the selection is one thing in itself, but for the pick to not work out so far because he's been hurt last year for a season, this year for the first 4 games, man. And then on top of that, this year you got hurt in the first preseason game. So like you didn't even make it through the preseason. Like that ain't good, bro. And it's not going to be easy to justify him taking him over some other. I'm not even going to lie to you. My memory is a little vague right now about who was up there on the board at the time and who they chose him over. But like there were people available.
I think Nakobe Dean was one of them available. Okay. And everybody wanted him. I mean, a couple of offensive linemen I know people mentioned, but yeah, I mean, people going to look at it though. You know, that's why I said, like, I mean, I'm not ready to personally go there yet because I like to give people, you know, the benefit of the doubt a little bit of time. But as you were saying, Mual, like, I'm trying to think, like, when he comes back, how do they fit him into the rotation, especially if John Ridgeway, you know, he's kind of, I guess, whoever, if he is who he was last year, which was a pretty decent player, you know, in the rotation, then of course you got Allen and Payne. But then again, he's always an injury away from stepping in. Those guys step out here and there, but I just don't know how much of an impact he makes when he's actually playing. And on top of that, we need to finally see him play.
I'm a firm believer of like, if you ain't, look, if the dude that's backing you up is, or in this specific instance and context, if this dude is performing well and performing really good for this unit, you don't need to play. Like, you losing your job already, and it's impossible. What's the call? Like the Wally Pipp? Ain't that the thing where the person lost their job because he was hurt and he never got the job back? Like, I believe in it. Like, and it's not. It's unfortunate, but like I'm not gonna dwell over Fedarian Mathis. There's plenty of people that I fell in love with when I watched their tape, and like some of them aren't even like getting any playing time, or they're not even on a team right now. So it is what it is. It's unfortunate because I really want him to work in Washington, but
yeah, I mean, in my eyes, he's a bust. I felt that way as soon as he got picked. Like, I just feel like this front office just picks guys that they really don't even need to. Like, I don't know what the true plan is. Like, it's weird. Like, if you pay attention to the second round picks under the Ron Rivera tenureship alone, what you've had Sam Cosmi, you've had Fedarian Mathis, and now Jatavius Martin. It's like these guys don't necessarily fit. Like, it's kind of like you're hoping that they end up developing, but you're not even providing them the tools to develop.
Let me ask you this question, AJ. Let me ask you this question, brother. You said Phil is a bust. He ain't play no games because he been hurt.
Hey, and that's why he a bust. Because
so I'm glad you stated that. Cause listen, guess who been hurt the last 2 years and ain't been able to get on the field, bro?
You said that hasn't been able to get on the field?
Who ain't been able to get on the field? Guess who been hurt the last 2 years? He's been on this team since 2020, and he ain't been on the field in 2 years. And he just missed time over the preseason off a stinger.
Chase Young.
That's a good point,
I'm not saying he a bust.
Oh,
though.
nah, you can't. Nah.
I'm not saying he a bust though. But listen though,
that's not a fair comparison because we've seen Chase Young have elite
7
moments.
sacks. Sure, he had elite moments. And he's a number 2 overall
sacks.
And he's a number 2 overall pick. Sure, like that's evident. Like you're getting drafted number 2 overall because you have elite traits. You have like I was about to use the cliche term, but you have elite traits, bro. And make no mistake, everybody in this chat, everybody that's listening to the podcast, I am not calling Chase Young a bust. But what I am saying is, if the theory is that Fedarian Mathis is a bust because he can't get on the field and he's hurt, you had Chase Young, who's missed so much time off of injuries over the last 2 years because he can't get on the field off of one significant injury, and then 2 significant injuries. And then 3 significant injuries. And then 4 significant injuries. And then 5 significant injuries. And then 6 significant injuries. And then 7 significant injuries. And then 8 significant injuries. And then 9 significant injuries. And then 10 significant injuries. And then 11 significant injuries. And then 12 significant injuries. And then 13 significant injuries. And then 14 significant injuries. And then 15 significant injuries. And then 16 significant injuries. And then 17 significant injuries. And then 18 significant injuries. And then 19 significant injuries. And then 20 significant injuries. And then 21 significant injuries. And then 22 significant injuries. And then 23 significant injuries. And then 24 significant injuries. And then 25 significant injuries. And then 26 significant injuries. And then 27 significant injuries. And then 28 significant injuries. And then 29 Darian Mathis, who just so happened to have one significant injury last year, took him out the whole year. And for Darian Mathis this year is going to have first 4 games missed because he had another injury. Like, that's out of their control.
Well,
that
I mean,
out of their
late.
control. So how is somebody a bust because of an injury when we know Chase Young is not a bust? We know that for a fact right now.
And you notice it's layered. It's not just the injuries, right? It's the fact that they took him second round.
No, you said because he hurt, bro. You literally said that, bro.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you finish. Do your thing.
I ain't get to finish. It's one, he's not available. Even if he was available, he wouldn't be a starter. Don't even really know how much he'd be in the rotation because really when they drafted Mathis, they thought that they were going to replace him in the starting lineup alongside Allen. Instead, Payne balled out, exceeding their expectation. They had to re-sign him due to that. So now you're talking about your second round pick is a third, fourth rotational D tackle. Then on top of that, he was overdrafted. Even he said it himself, like had no expectation of being a second round pick at all. He was more so looking at being a third round or possibly a fourth round pick. But it's not just solely on the injury. It was like they could have got a better player in the second round overall. And whereas another year again with Aquan Martin, for example, we have no clue where he's going to really be playing. Like 1 minute I'm saying he's like listed as a cornerback. 1 minute I'm saying he's listed as a safety. I really don't know what's going on with him. Don't really know how much he's going to contribute throughout the season. But it's like when you're taking guys in the second, third, or fourth round, you want them to be starters on your. You want them to be starters on your team. I know that you like Mathis. You feel me? Like in most cases, I necessarily wouldn't even say that. But with the circumstances of how they drafted him and why I feel like they drafted him, they'll never come out and outright say it. I just feel like you're not getting any production from that guy. Like he's on the injured reserve, and he played a couple snaps. I seen a couple snaps in person against the Chargers when he got hurt, and yeah, like you're pretty much going to be.
Who you talking about?
His rookie game, his first game of his career debut.
Oh, the Jags
was against the Chargers. I thought it was the Chargers. Am I tripping?
Nah, Jags last year, week 1.
Okay, yeah. So Jags week 1, but at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. Like you hope that the guy can be productive, but even if he does get on the field, how much production is he gonna even provide you for real? Like if we keep into the buck.
Yeah, Dre, that was an excellent question. I didn't know it was gonna morph into this, but I do think like the theory wise, bro, there are some people in the chat who do think that Chase Young is a bust, and you are entitled to your opinion. I can't really disagree with that. In terms of like how you angle it or how you rationalize it. But I am one to say like injuries really do like hinder opportunities. And it does disallow you to really showcase what you can do on the field, whether it's good or bad. Like the people won't know because you get hurt. And I think for both parties, for Phil and for Chase, or for any draft pick who is unable to get on the field because they're hurt, that's not the reason why somebody's a bust. There's other circumstances that can make somebody a bust. And I think those are the priority factors that can really contribute to somebody being deemed a bust. Not necessarily somebody who was injured, unless we know that they just didn't care and they weren't taking care of their bodies and they didn't care about the NFL. That's something that you can say like, all right, this motherfucker didn't care. Like that's one thing. Okay, so AJ,
but real quick, Dre asked a question, but really ain't say if he think he a bust or not.
Oh, I said I didn't think he was. I said I wouldn't go that far that soon. You know, I'm going to at least give him until I see him on the football field because, like Mual said, I assume that he's going on short-term IR, so we're going to see him at some point. You know, granted, he stays healthy through the process, but I want to at least see him on the field because I haven't really noticed him on the field. Like Mual said, he played one preseason game this year. I don't even know if he played a preseason game last year before he got hurt.
Yeah, but he played preseason, and then he had like 2 snaps against the Jaguars.
That's right, and I think he did look pretty decent from the time he was in for preseason. But, I mean, in any case, again, I have to see him in consistent games, man. But I don't know how long that's going to take because, like I said, he's probably going to miss the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, and then it's going to probably take him another 2 to 3 weeks to get like comfortable into the rotation. So we're maybe looking at like mid-season before we're starting to see what Fedarian Mathis can actually do. So, but again, availability is your best ability in any league. I mean, you know, you have to be available. If you're always injured, we don't know what we have in you. But I do want to see what he brings to the table because I'm sure we'll see him at some point. I don't know how Jonathan Allen's, what is it? He has plantar fasciitis or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that could be that could be something that, you know, becomes a thing, you know, as the season goes on. So we may be seeing Fedarian Mathis whenever he gets healthy. But I'm going to reserve judgment on calling him a bust until I at least see him on the football field for some, you know, consecutive weeks.
So a couple more things that we actually talked about. AJ brought up Devin Asiasi. And I was cool with him initially too when he came out. I don't know what's been going on in the league since he got drafted to New England. I honestly haven't been following him to that extent. But the reason why I bring up Asiasi isn't necessarily anything with him specifically, but the tight end position. Curtis Hodges surprised me. So I don't understand how he made the roster. Honestly, after I saw what he did against the Ravens in that game-winning drive where like the ball literally touched his hands on the pass to Fromm, he dropped it and just had his head down. Like, I know you're disappointed in yourself, but like I need to see better effort from you first and foremost. But then like if you drop a pass, get your mind right for the next play. And personally for me, I was like, I don't understand how somebody who's having a inconsistent preseason to this point really makes the roster at tight end when you have other options out there. Like this, the potential, the athletic potential that he has, like, is that really that desirable that you can't look elsewhere on the waiver wire or potential cuts that tells you that I can bring somebody else in? I don't know, but that was the one that surprised me. Trent Scott, you mentioned too. I'll be quick with that one. I think that's more so like a tackle thing than it is anything else. Like Trent Scott wasn't bad in preseason. That's when I was able to notice him the most. But I don't think they wanted Cosme to be the one that had to kick out the tackle, or let's say maybe even Sadiq Charles. They didn't want them two to be the ones to kick out the tackle. You only had that one swing tackle and
Cornelius Lucas. Weren't they trying Braden Daniels at tackle at one point? And I know they put him on a little fake IR, just to keep him around because he didn't look ready. So that, I mean, to me, if Trent Scott makes it over him, I'm like, okay, what does this say about Braden Daniels? And is that a failed pick already in a sense?
And I have one more. I did forget this, and AJ's going to AJ. I don't understand how you didn't mention this either. How the fuck did KJ Henry make the roster? I think one of my main things when I saw with KJ Henry in college, like I put out a film session and I didn't show the negatives. I just had them in my film bank. But I did write them out. I wrote out the negatives. Like everything that I saw that he struggled with is what happened in the preseason. Like he was very quiet for a reason. He's undersized. It was hard for him to get off blocks. Like sure, he had a certain role sometimes that. Like he played, he read his reads and keyed his reads correctly in pass run situations, or pass and run situations. But bro, like he wasn't really making any plays. And comparatively speaking to Andre, who made the team, how does KJ make the roster? And who did they boot for KJ?
So in KJ's case, were you advocating that they just flat out cut him, or do that thing where they put you on IR because you aren't ready, but they don't want to cut you? That's what they did with Braden Daniels.
Honestly, if it was me, bro, I know how Ron Rivera and them play. Like they want their draft picks, right? But if it was me, and I'm not going to put myself in their shoes. If it was me, I'm the type of person. Like if I'm sure that or willing to like know that I made a mistake, or that I know he needs more time, but I'm okay with losing him, I'm going to go ahead and try to get him on the practice squad, cut him, and try to get him on the practice squad. Like, I'm not going to let him just flat out let him go. Somebody claims him. But I don't even think he was supposed to be drafted in the 5th round. Like, that's my thing. Like, he could have been drafted in the 7th. And that's kind of where I'm like, how does he make the roster? And that's... I'm like, come on, bro. Like,
hey, I guess
he does some things good. Like, you can scheme him to make some plays, but individually speaking, bro, he got so many levels to go, bro.
I guess why I didn't mention it is because he was a draft pick. Every pick that they made the roster. Like, I mean, I'm not surprised. That's just how they rock over there. And
they don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
Like, because I seen KJ Henry on film in college.
Yeah, William Bradley King, Jay Tyler, right?
There's no way in hell that I would have drafted KJ Henry on my team because he does nothing. Like, he can't win one-on-one. And if you're going to focus on scheming a guy open, you can do that with anybody. Like, I just don't really know what they're doing at the DN position as far as the backups because literally no one on the roster is a natural bender. They have not one natural bender at DN. Like, all these are like, I don't understand it at all. Like, I was even kind of surprised a little bit that Tuhill made the 53. But at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, these coaches like who they like. You feel me? And that's who they're gonna keep on the roster. At the end of the day, I think KJ possibly gets cut during the season at some point because it's like it just doesn't make sense. But we'll find out here soon.
But you know, one last thing I wanted to kind of bring up on some of that. I saw someone I think Jay Tyler mentioned Alex Armour in the comment section, and I think it's very interesting with him. I think he's gonna be someone they kind of count on in the offensive bit because I think Eric Bieniemy likes the fullback position, but I think what they did, which was smart, is you cut him, you put him on the practice squad because you know they had that new rule in the NFL now where you can elevate guys on game day. So he's might be one of those guys that are going to elevate on game day, and he's going to be a part of their little packages or whatever. So that's something to watch out for because they don't want to use a roster spot on a fullback. I mean, that's, you know, it's a little bit forward thinking, and I think that's how it's going to go. I mean, that's just me kind of speculating, but I can see the vision in a sense just by hearing like the conversation around Armour and just what the team thinks of him. I think they're going to sneak that dude in on game day.
Jay says this defense doesn't call for those kind of DNs. I don't know, bro. Like,
the defense I just think that they don't. Guys that can get to a quarterback.
I just think that they don't have it. Like, they're looking for it, but they don't have it. Like that's kind of how that works, in my opinion. I just like it's like certain like I'm trying to remember the call last year. Oh, people were saying that the defense called for the interior pass rushers to make plays on the quarterback, but that's just a byproduct of Daron Payne and John Allen actually just being good fucking interior tackles.
Elite.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you need the edge rushers to make plays, and it's not about keeping the quarterback in the pocket. Like, if you can get edge rushers to make plays too, who wouldn't take that? Who wouldn't? And that's why I think. Side note, which we already discussed 1,000 times, big years for Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Like, Montez Sweat got to close. He got to learn how to close, and he got to learn how to make some plays against competition that's like as good as he is. And start learning how to win majority of those matchups. And that's gonna really take his game to the next level if he can do things like that. Oh Lord Jesus, like. Come on, bro. So for those listening to the podcast, PCC asks, based on this combo, do you have them losing 10 plus games and the defense being in the bottom half? I didn't recognize that this conversation was negative. I thought we were just asking. We asked about a couple players,
and more so about depth than anything.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if we offended you, brother. All right. How about this?
I'm not sorry. How about that?
How about that? Hey, bro. All right. Let's actually ask this question. I think is a good transition from this negatively perceived conversation. Yeah. All right, buddy. I see you, brother. Thanks for commenting and checking in. By the way, appreciate everybody checking. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Fellas, has the preseason encouraged you at all? In terms of the outlook for Washington, you don't necessarily have to give a win projection total, but more so about like have you been has your level of optimism increased, or have your level of skepticism increased after watching these guys play in the preseason, whether it be an individual or whether it be a unit. Let's say the offense, or maybe even a Sam Howell, or maybe even an Andrew Wiley or Cole Turner. Like, I'll leave it open ended for you all, and we can start from there.
I think for me, a little bit concerned about the first team defense. I think we've been paying so much attention to Eric Bieniemy and what he has going on offensively, and Sam Howell, that we're kind of like bypassing Jack Del Rio and having this unit prepared defensively. That's one thing I will say. The defense, when it's had to go against the first team offense, has not looked good at all. Whether you want to focus on game planning or not, like, it just did not look good. But other than that, I'm just ready for regular season football to be here, man, honestly. And especially when it comes to this team, you know, having these conversations with you guys and being able to dive into, you know, what's going on weekly is going to be huge for, you know, the fans or the people who think I speak negatively on Sam Howell or whatever the case is. That's all I'm ready for, man. But I think the thing that I would pinpoint is that defense. You know, I'm a bit concerned how they looked against the first team.
I mean, for me, I'll still say I'm in a neutral position as far as, you know, the team outlook for the season. Again, I feel like this season I'm just playing with house money because we have new ownership, and like I said, this season can go two ways for me, and that's, you know, you go into it, you have, you know, you can be bad, but that's fine because everything's changing, or you can be good, and that's fine because that's fun. It's fun to watch good football. But with that said, I mean, Sam Howell was the biggest question mark going into preseason for me. Now, he's still a question mark, obviously, but however, he's encouraging me. Like, he's showing me that, you know, he can be probably a worse Taylor Heineke, which wasn't the worst thing in the world, but, you know, wouldn't get you anywhere. But he can at least be that. But I mean, he could be even better than that. You know, it's just he definitely left me with a better feeling of him going into the season because he kept that momentum going from the end of the season. But again, we have to watch him in regular season over a consistent basis before we draw any conclusions on Sam. But at least he's, you know, he's encouraging optimism. And then Eric Bieniemy too. I mean, I thought Eric Bieniemy, even though, like I said, you're probably not seeing the scope of what he's going to do, you know, you're seeing that he's playing with some kind of aggression. Like, one of the things I like watching in preseason, like my favorite thing, you know, even in that third preseason game was, you know, at the end of a half, you may have like a minute left. In past seasons, I watched Washington go out there and pretty much lay down. I mean, even in regular season games, they're just comfortable with going into the half, you know, not going down any further or just leaving the game where it is. But Eric Bieniemy was like very aggressive. He had Jake Fromm out there, you know, going for the jugular, like, you know, let's go for some points before half. And I think that's the mentality that Eric's going to be bringing. And that's a refreshing thing to me. You know, like I said, we may not know X's and O's too much what he's going to do, but the intensity, you know, that he's bringing to the offense is really encouraging. And that's kind of bringing me up a bit as well. But I'm with AJ on the defense. Like, the first team defense disappointed me. Just like last preseason, they started off slow and then they started off the season slow. I mean, as a matter of fact, the last two seasons, the defense has started out really slow. I mean, they're giving up record yards in certain games. So they're supposed to be a lot better this year. I mean, you know, just because people say there's so many years into the system now. But are they going to start slow? It's a real concern. I mean, luckily we kind of play the Cardinals, you know, week one, because that'll give you a good gauge of, you know, at least the fact that, you know, maybe they can, you know, because the Cardinals starting with Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune, whatever that guy's name is. But, you know, those are guys that shouldn't go out there and start fasting your defense. So it could be a good tone setter going forward if they are. But I mean, it is some concerns there that they usually start slow.
For me, I think the offense is I'm actually pretty impressed, and I think it starts with Bieniemy. I think what we were able to see in preseason doesn't even, like, the level of coordination and, like, what's the word, understanding, I guess, from the players, from the offensive line to the quarterback to the receivers, like, understanding how to work this pass game concept, and even from the ground game, like, understanding how they were able to really help create lanes for the running backs. I think that this is something where I'm not necessarily sure you're looking at a very potent offense, but I think that you'll see a drastically better performing offense in the regular season. Like, you're not going to see a team that looks completely lost or without structure or without a game plan. And I mean, obviously, technically last year, their game plan was just run the damn ball no matter what. Once they figured out they couldn't pass protect, and they figured out that Wentz wasn't really nothing. And Heineke couldn't really push the ball down the field. But for Washington this year, I think what's going to be different and what's better for them is it starts with the enemy. You're going to see tempo. You're going to see a faster paced offense in the sense of getting out of huddle quicker so they can get to the line quicker, and communicate everything that they need to communicate. And then, like, I think that even the enemy's teachings, like, you're able to see that come out in the preseason. Obviously, things are going to get a little bit harder in the regular season, because when it comes to game planning, you can scheme up a little bit more defensively. You can disguise a little bit more. You can be late on your rotations. You can roll your coverage to a way that maybe a rookie or a quarterback starting his second game ever never seen before. Like, those things are going to get tricky, but I think the way that the enemy has taught them so far this offseason, and so far in training camp, I think that he's going to be prepared in his preparation is going to be able to prepare Sam Howell in that offense. Again, does that mean a potent offense? I don't think so. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's impossible. Like, they have the weapons here, right? And I think that Cole Turner showing out in the preseason is something that I feel like is very substantive, because I've been calling that shit out since last year. Like, I just been waiting for him to stay on the field. So for Cole Turner, I think having a tight end present, regardless of what the hell Logan Thomas is doing, y'all know I'm not that big a fan of Logan. Like, it is what it is. But for Cole Turner to show out and really take that place of a receiving threat as a tight end who can line up in multiple places and not just in line, right? I think that's very encouraging for this offense, because they needed it. And I think that the enemy is going to be able to find a way to get Cole Turner involved often. Hawk asked us about the screen game. I think that's one of the biggest question marks, because the screen game hasn't been that great in preseason. And they still have 2 weeks to work on it. But so far, like, if you haven't got it done to this point, I mean, obviously you can get better during the season. Like, it's not over. But in terms of week one readiness, I don't know if they're going to be there just yet. And it's not just the offensive line. It's everything, Hawk. It comes down to timing from your receivers. Your receivers, your offensive line, to your running backs, like the depth in which they get to their screen, their landmarks on the screen. It doesn't just start with offensive line and end with them either. So, like, I really am encouraged by the offense. And I think that was the biggest question mark heading into the season. I don't think that the defense is in a point where I'm concerned yet. I know that they've been mixing and matching on that side of the ball this entire preseason. And I think my biggest concern, and I said this last week when we were on the show, my biggest concern is really Cody Barton. Like, that's literally it right now. Cody Barton. I'm not worried about Quan. Quan's not going to be seeing the field that much. Now, Kendall Fuller, I don't know what's going on with him, because he's been hurt and he ain't been seeing no time on the field. And y'all already know how I feel about Kendall too. That's scary. All right. And if all those fails, you put Ben outside because Kendall can't do anything. But I think your top three are going to be seeing the field a lot. And that's going to be Ben, Kendall, and Emmanuel. Like, everybody else after that, they are who they are. So there's a lot that I think this defense is going to be able to show in terms of, like, their readiness in week one. I think the concerns right now isn't overblown, but I do think it's to the point where it's like it shouldn't be on a scale of 1 to 10, it shouldn't be higher than a 3. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I'm actually encouraging. That doesn't mean the wins increase. I just think that you're seeing a team that's probably going to be competitive in majority of their games, if not all of them. And we say that a lot, but I think I really do mean it. I think I do.
But I was gonna say, the good thing about that, Mual, is we're gonna find out early what they are. I mean, we have a gauntlet after that Cardinals game. But that's why I keep saying that this game, a lot of fans don't want to hear this, but it's a must-win game because I know a lot of fans like to say, well, week one doesn't matter because you got 16 or 17 more weeks to go. It's not going to define a season. But I'm like, if you can't go out there and handle the Arizona Cardinals with all of the momentum that you have right now, that place is going to be sold out. Like FedEx Field is going to look like it's never looked, in a long time at least, because Jason Wright and them have already announced that the thing is sold out, or standing room only left, so you have the fan base behind you. Everyone's happy that there's new times here. There's a new ownership. On top of that, the Cardinals don't want to win, man. I mean, you've seen the moves they made lately. Even with Colt McCoy, a lot of people say, oh, well, that doesn't mean that, they don't want to win because Colt isn't that good. No, Colt is at least good to get you 6 or 7 wins in this league. Cardinals don't want 6 to 7 wins in this league. Cardinals know that they want to move forward with Caleb Williams and Drake May. They're going to get one of those guys. So the Cardinals are really at this point don't even want to win. They're starting a quarterback against a defense who should be hungry, even though we have our concerns. But this is the perfect time for you to start fast as a defense. What the Cardinals are starting is inexperience at the quarterback position. So if you do what you're supposed to do against them, you may not learn too much because you can say, all right, well, they did what they were supposed to do, but it was just the Cardinals. But then you got the Bills after that. You got the Eagles after that. I mean, that gauntlet is coming. They're going to tell you a lot about this team and if they're ready to, maybe take a step forward. So I can't wait, man.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where is that comment I'm looking for? Oh, I think that's kind of the one thing for all of us at this point. I can't wait for the season to start. We're going to be back next Thursday for the game preview, and then obviously post game on Sunday right after the game. Hawk asked us about have we talked about Coach Rivera comments on wishing he played House sooner. I'm not going to lie to you, Hawk. I seen it and I had my thoughts on social media about it. I think the one thing I'll say, because I said this when I was in Orlando and I did that 20-minute episode. What do I call it? I have this counter. What is the counter that I call it? I say Ron done fucked up again, but now new ownership is in place count. The first one was his preseason comments on the enemy and the players. And then you just add this one to the list. Like, he admits that he wish he played, that he admits that he didn't know that Sam Howell was this good and that he wish he played him sooner. And it's ironic because in 2021, he said he watched all the tape and did all the analytics on Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz sucked. So I don't have to dwell on. And on top of that, we've heard him say this 1,000 times this offseason, Hawk. So I don't have a lot to add right now on that. I'm just adding everything that he says to the list, man. This is for new ownership to deal with. It's matter of time. Dre already said it, man. We on cloud 9 right now. It's a season where I'm like, all right, man, you keep talking the way you want to talk, right? I'm gonna just add everything that you say to the list, just like Josh Harris is gonna do, and just like he's gonna make a decision, especially if you ain't winning. But yeah, that's that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Josh Harris and company, like, so what the hell do you do? Because you don't call the offensive plays, you don't call the defense, you don't do special teams. You obviously aren't evaluating the talent that's on your roster or paying attention to them in practice, whatever the case is. So what the hell do you do? Like, I mean, it was clear as day, and that's where I got frustrated with the Sam Howell situation. Week 17 against the Cowboys. It's like, bruh, you didn't even want to start this man. Now, we fast forward to some months later, you're trying to tell me that he's the number one quarterback? Like, if Taylor Heineke doesn't vouch for, go ahead, let him start. Like, Taylor Heineke knew exactly what he was doing. Let him start so I don't risk myself getting injured and mess up my bag for the free agency. If Taylor Heineke doesn't do that, Sam Howell would be going into this year with no starts at all. Just, like, put that in perspective. At the end of the day, like we all know, man, this is his last rodeo, and hope he enjoys his final lap. Not sure if he's gonna make it to all weeks or not, But this is definitely his final lap, and him and his family can go settle back in Charlotte and enjoy the retirement home and money.
But so AJ, where do you go after that though? I mean, for me personally, like, I don't have any attachment to Ron Rivera. Like, Ron Rivera can go tomorrow and I'm fine. But if he's decent, I do feel like a majority of the fans here are just going to be like, oh, I mean, not to say decent, but what if they're good? What if they go to the playoffs this year? Majority of the fans are not going to give him credit at all. They're going to say, hey, he had Eric Bieniemy call the plays. That's the only reason he's good. Like, would you ever give him that credit, AJ?
No. The reason why I will not give him that credit is because he stuck with Scott Turner for so long, even though we could see from day one that this offense was not going to work with what they had personnel-wise, whatever. A lot of people kept saying, oh, he doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have a quarterback. Well, you still got to design plays. Nobody's open on plays. Like, the scheme didn't work. The play calling together didn't work. Like, the connected play calling didn't work. Then they sold us this idea of getting Ryan Fitzpatrick. He didn't get to play because he got hurt. So now we're forced to watch bums. Then we acquire Carson Wentz. Now, they're going to push the ball downfield. No, we seen them dropping Carson Wentz back in 8-step drops for no reason, like, and getting sacked. So it's just like, I feel like if the offense wasn't getting criticized by the players so much, you probably would see Scott Turner still here. I think it just fell in his lap. Luckily that Eric Bieniemy needed another opportunity. He needed an opportunity outside of Kansas City to kind of prove his value, which is insane. But, it kind of just fell in his lap. Because, I mean, look at the people he was even interviewing. Like, I think if I'm not mistaken, if Eric Bieniemy didn't take the job, the next person up was going to be Pat Shurmur, who is terrible.
I know.
Who is terrible. So it's just like, I'm just ready for the Ron Rivera era to be over.
And for me, to kind of, I guess, to answer the question, sometimes you just need to put a muzzle on Ron. I mean, because Ron just, he kind of, and I can see what he's doing, in a sense, even in this situation with Sam Howell.
Like Ron,
I mean, he's forgetting. He wants you to kind of forget that they didn't have the same confidence in Sam this year. And in the same token, what he's also doing is trying to build Sam up. But it's like he's sticking his foot in his mouth to try to raise him up as well, because he's hyping Sam. What he wants you to believe is that, oh, this guy's good. We made a great decision on giving him the job this year. Like, you're going to see this, you see this, but he's going back, when you go back in time, you never felt like Ron had that confidence, because if he had that confidence, he wouldn't have had to be reminded by Taylor Heineke to start Sam Howell in the last game of the season, So, in the comments about, I don't know, again, it's like Ron that has no self-awareness to the fact that actually makes you sound worse than you think. It isn't as smart. That those words that's coming out of your mouth isn't as smart as you think. But again, I mean, sometimes you just have to just take it, Ron for what it is, because Ron sometimes doesn't come off as the best communicator. Like, you can see what he's trying to do, but at the same time, bruh, like, just stop, because you're just digging yourself in even further hole. And that's what he's been doing a lot of times. But again, also, like, we don't need for you to hype Sam Howell up right now, because if you hype Sam Howell up, we're just going to look at you as, oh, you're doing this again. You tried the same thing with Carson Wentz, and that didn't happen. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, and that didn't happen. But, like, stop over delivering. I mean, well, stop over promising, that's under and delivering. Because we're not getting deliveries yet. Like, just wait, just let it happen first before we, can go back and, we can say, hey, Ron, you keep saying this, you keep promising these things, but it keeps backfiring. Just let it happen. But he's trying to hype it up too much. Stop promising, just let it happen.
But it's like, do you think your player is weak or something? Like, why do you feel like you need to coddle certain players? Like, just let them play. If he could play, he could play. There's nothing that you need to say to us. Like, why are you trying to prove a point to the public versus just letting him just go out there and ball? Like, because you just make yourself look stupid.
Too much pressure, too. You're putting way too much pressure on Sam Howell at this point. The expectations are raised now because Ron really thinks he's the guy again. So now we're going to expect Sam Howell to be the guy. I mean, most people were going to do that anyway. People just love Sam Howell. But now the expectations are raised, and fingers are going to be really pointing at Ron if this doesn't work.
Yeah, I think for me, if there's one thing that came out of this that you really focus on, is that the trick that he tried to pull that we're used to locally, or that some of us can see through, like the national media finally picked up on it, and like they picked up on it with new ownership in place too. Like you've been doing it for the last couple of years, and like now they see like what AJ said earlier. If you're the head coach and you didn't know he was this good and you wish you'd have played him sooner, what the hell were you doing? That's a bad, whether it's true or not, that's a bad perception for the national media to have, because now everybody done picked up on it. And that's that. Any final words on roster, anything like that? Like I said, everybody that's checked in, appreciate everybody who's watching. We will be back next Thursday for the pregame or preview show, and then Sunday immediately post game. But fellas, I give you all the floor. Anything else? Dre, man, you should have went out to Columbia with AJ for like a week, bro, and live that life of a king, bro. You know what I'm saying? He was out there a whole month.
I'm gonna have to go there one day with AJ, because AJ be out there living, bro. I can't wait to get out there.
I know he know where to go.
Hey man, let's do it. Let's pull up. You feel me?
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm gonna have to one day. We want next time you go out there for a month, AJ. I promise I'm coming out there at least for a couple days, maybe a week.
It don't even have to be for a month. It could just be a couple days, like you just said. Like, hey, just pop up. Like, we figure it out. It's definitely a vibe, man. Definitely a vibe all the way.
100p. Hey, look at Jake, man. Here, we ain't even gonna speak on it.
Definitely not. And even if I was, I don't know if you call the little amount that is ass tricking. So
there it is, man. That's how we ending this show, baby. That's how we ending the show, man. Look, hey, everybody be safe. Appreciate everybody who watched, man, at this point, man. Appreciate everybody who watched from start to finish as well. We definitely appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Before we get out of here, because y'all the gamblers, college football full steam back this week. What's good?
Hey, tomorrow, man.
I ain't on Friday. I'll have everything by Friday.
There it is. Because I ain't locked in.
I had a bad week 0 though. Fuck week 0. I cannot stand week 0. You know, because week 0, you don't know what anybody can do. Yeah, you just want to bet just because college football on, you want something to watch. So I'm bouncing back.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't bet the first 2-3 weeks of college football last week. So last year. So I'm gonna do the same thing.
I watched Caleb Williams over the weekend, man. It was that USC team is pretty interesting.
They turned up. And I didn't know he had that strong of an arm when he did that little.
Man, that boy can play, dog. Like, he can play.
He Patrick Mahomes Jr.
He got like a laser and the quick twitches, insane. But I like that number one branch. Oh, he gonna be a problem.
Oh yeah, they got a number wide receiver too. But Caleb Williams, before we get up out of here, DC's own, baby, Gonzaga High School. I didn't go to Gonzaga, but we claim our own around here. You know what I'm saying? And he's also a noted Washington Commanders fan. Too bad we'll never have him play, but he's a
Dre, you like Drake May, so
I love Drake May. Hey, you could do 2. You know what I'm saying? Pause.
Whoa, Hey, go ahead. Wrap the show up, bro.
Y'all be safe. We out of here, man. Appreciate y'all watching.